I've read something the other day that said, I might not word it right, but it was like, if you're not willing to sacrifice to get what you want is what you're sacrificing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, but that's pretty damn deep.
It is.
It's like, so I'd rather sacrifice the lifestyle I had, you know what I mean? The mediocrity and all the stuff we use as like not being home and being busy and being on the phone. Like that gets significantly different with time.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Elite Sales Podcast. I'm joined in studio by special guests. We have Brittany Smart with FFL Abundant.
Happy to be here.
Glad to have you. And then we have Maddox, here with John Wetmore, integrity partner.
Say hi.
Hi.
You're on camera right there.
So John Wetmore here is joining us from across the country. He's actually in town, and we're very lucky to have him bless us with his presence to come in to train a little bit. We had an awesome training that he did for the people locally here. I think it was streaming as well. And then we're very honored to have him join us on this week's podcast. So,
here, dude.
Yeah, how's LA treating you so far?
Love LA. I'm a fan.
Are you?
I like the weather. Dodgers game was great. People are cool. The traffic, though, dude. We were like, when we first looked it up from Atlanta, we're like, 9 miles from the game, no problem. 55 minutes.
Oh yeah.
I was like, smokes.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. What's with the smog? What's the deal with that? That's everywhere, huh?
Yeah.
It's just LA.
We just have smog. That's just how it is.
I like it.
There's pros and cons to everything. That's one of the cons.
That is one of them.
We do like it though. We like it out here. We will be back.
Good. Well, glad you're enjoying your stay so far. We're looking forward to having you back. But come off of this training, you went over some great stuff about just how you started off.
Yeah.
How how you got to the point where you are now. So we got a ton of what on this. We have a lot of new agents that come on and watch, or even a lot of agents that have been here for a little bit and they haven't quite been able to get over that hump or make the decision to get to that point.
Yeah.
So what would be the main thing you would tell them? Like what do they need to commit to or decide on doing for them to break through?
Yeah, I think so. It's a loaded question.
Yeah.
We talk about it for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So we'll give the shortest version I can. I think I've talked to thousands of agents and over the last 10 years. And probably the main reason is because I was so bad at this at the beginning and misunderstood it so much. And then the change was so drastic, you know what I mean? Relative to where I started. I think I can relate. I know I can relate to a lot of people because I understand, again, I was 35, 36 years old, broke when I started this, and I didn't come into this thing lighting the world on fire. I mean, I was very mediocre, 10, 15 appointments a week, 10, which funny enough, equal 10, 15, families a month, apps, whatever. And, my first year and a half, 2 years in the business, I was just relatively getting by, and for me, it was more about the discovery and what I was trying to explain out to those guys out there was like understanding when I was in my early 20s, I worked in warehouses and I saw the future there wasn't what I wanted, which was being 50 working in a warehouse,
right?
And I worked nights, and the night shift, their whole goal in life was to get to day shift. That was their life's dream, to literally work 7 to 3 instead of, 4 p.m., 6 p.m. to whatever time we got off. And that caused me to go back to school. So I went to college, got an accounting degree in my mid-20s, whatever. Hated that, honestly. Didn't make any money. Didn't on corporate ladder. I went from blue collar to like corporate world, and it was terrible. And I saw a ceiling there too. So I started looking for more opportunity. Long story short, fell into insurance and very mediocre. But same thing, that revelation of, and what I always say is like, if you're out there running appointments, you're in final expense appointments with seniors, mortgage world, you know what I mean? Think about what the average client income is, what the average client's home looks like. Does it make sense? Yep. The health they're in, the neighborhood they live in, right? What's their average income, right? We all know what it is. We also all know the source of their income at that age, that retirement age of middle income America.
Right.
That was my future if I didn't change. So for me, when I realized much like the warehouse, if I didn't change, I was going to be 50 in a warehouse. I also realized if as a life insurance agent, if I didn't change what I was doing, that Susan at 74 years old, living on Social Security at $1,200 a month in a place she probably don't want to live, trying to figure out how to squeeze a $52 payment in, that was my future if I didn't change. Right. When I realized that, dude, every appointment I looked at as fuel to get out of my situation. And thank God we have people out there to help. But the weirdest dynamic was that was also what drove me to not want to live like that. Now, I certainly wanted my kids to live different and to be able to help my families and help other families. And then, but that was the driving factor. And again, nobody's confused that if you don't do something with this, you're going to live like you're living today. And for me, that wasn't what I wanted, dude. And I had to realize that with everyone else around me that had the same carriers, the same leads, the same business, same product, the same phone script, everything's the same relatively. You know what I mean? You go my area, dude, they're people. They're middle income America. Everywhere in the country has the same problems, the same objections, the same crap, the same no-show, we all deal with the same stuff. In fact, I haven't called a lead in 5 years, and literally everyone out there gets the same objections today that I got when I was in the field. Right. It's not changed. And we're in LA and I'm in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? It's literally the same. So when I realized the only different variable was me, and I decided after a really direct couple of conversations with Mark Mead and Killamet, thankfully they were willing to tell me that I was the problem, and I was willing to accept that. Because again, I did this part-time at the beginning, and I was running 10 or 15 appointments a week. And then when I went full-time, I stayed running 10 or 15 appointments a week and counted it as a full-time. So what I was telling these guys out there is I decided to start counting my hours differently. When I was in the warehouse I mentioned, I was timed. I had to pack so many boxes per hour in the truck, or I got in trouble. Right. And so in this, like the dude out there, I don't remember his name, but I was asking him how many appointments he ran. He said, whatever it was, I think his answer was 10 actually. Yeah. And I said, how many will you sit with if you schedule 10 in a week? I think he said 4. I'm like, all right, how long is your average appointment? It was an hour. So I'm like, we got 4 hours sitting in homes. And then I said, how many dials do you make? He said 600, 1 minute per dial. That's 10 hours, like 4 hours in the home, 10 hours on the phone. It's 14 hours. Right. And we all agree that 40 hours a week is full time. And I said, when you had your last job, you drove a lot to get to your job. He said, yes. I said, did that count towards your 40? He said, no. I said, so fair to say the driving here shouldn't count either. Does that make sense?
Right.
And when I went back to school to get better educated at a career, I didn't count those towards my 40 hours. I did that in addition. So if you're trying to learn this, this doesn't count as hours. Right. This is getting y'all better. Hopefully we don't mess it up. Does that make sense? But it's helping you educate yourself in your career. So for me, I started counting my hours as 1 hour per SAT appointment, 1 minute per dial, and 20 minutes per recruiting call. So 30 appointments a week, hopefully sit 20. That's 20 hours, 10 hours dialing the phone, 10 hours recruiting, 20 minutes each, 30 of them. That was my 40 hours. When I changed that and I did it consistently, week in, week out, no matter what, 30 appointments a week, 120 a month, 1,500 a year. That was my threshold. Right. When I changed that, my whole world has changed in 7. We got Maddox on a podcast hanging out with me. I couldn't have done this 7 years ago. That's right. So shortest answer I could give. Hopefully that.
No, I think that encapsulates it very well. For given how much more detail you gave us earlier.
Yeah.
So how long did you basically toil in mediocrity until you made this decision?
So my actual story is I got my license in 2010. I dialed one time for 30 minutes and quit. It took me 2 years to book my first appointment. So I didn't book my first appointment until the summer of 2012. That's when I went part-time. This was pre-FFL. FFL didn't exist yet. So summer of 2012, I went part-time. I did a year part-time. And I went full-time in August of 2013. And then FFL started in December of 2013. And then all of 2014, my first year here, I was 10 to 12, 14K a month kind of guy. So got my license in 2010. That conversation I just told you about the timing and the hours, that happened in 2015. 2015, I smoked past Hall of Fame, started building, recruiting, teaching this way. And I've learned that teaching this way is more valuable because at the beginning, dude, I was like, everyone wants to get better, right? Which I ain't mad at.
Right.
All good. But like the average person watching here, I can't get them to believe they can be better like right now. But if I broke down everyone's schedule at an hour an appointment, a minute per dial, and 20 minutes per recruiting call, I could get 100% of people watching here to believe they can do more right now. And by doing more, what happens? You get better.
Yep.
Does that make sense? So I just started teaching the way I learned it. And I realized, dude, if I spent too much time trying to teach people skill set when they weren't putting in the effort, I was kind of validating that they could be amazing as long as they used my magical words or my script or my thought. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to continue lying to people because it wasn't true. If you don't run enough appointments, unless you're a unicorn, or with time, you'll certainly get better. You can scale back. But if you're not killing it and you're running what I promise you is a part-time schedule, I just think your expectations are wrong. So I just started being really honest with people the way Mark and Matt and Mike and then were honest with me.
Yeah.
And then again, the skill set stuff is really easy to teach when you're running a bunch. It's kind of hard to teach when you barely run. Right. I mean, 4 people a week, like he's sitting 4 people a week. Right. I'm just not that. And thankfully he understands it.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I think he'll change. So it's, I don't know. I don't even.
Was it difficult for you? Did you fight it? Did you, when Mike and Mark and Paul, whoever else, told you that this is you and this is your schedule?
No. So I'm kind of slow to learn stuff. I can be a little bit oblivious. I was pissed that it was that easy. Honestly, I like mad at myself for not, because it sounds, when I say it coming out of my mouth that I work 10 to 12 appointments a week and called it full time, like I feel like weird saying it still to this day, but that was my thought process at the time. And I validated my lack of success through all these other things. Leads, lead source, area. The client said that, all these things I used to validate why I wasn't having success. It kind of makes me mad that I thought that way at one point, right. But it was the journey. Yep. So when I ask a lot of questions, and I am crazy coachable. So the one thing, like when they do tell me things I'm doing wrong, I implement change like right now. I don't wait. I'm not slow. Like that's one thing I have. Well, I also have, where many don't, is I believe that if Brittany can do something, I can do it.
Competitive.
I just believe she can't be that much better. Like she's human.
Yep. If
she can do something, why can't I?
Sure.
I have that in me, So when I saw all these other people, I was like, dude, I can do it too. I just got to figure it out. And I truly thought it was like the perfect lead or the perfect script. I swear to God, I thought that. And when Mark asked me, I will never forget this, dude. Mark asked me how many appointments I was running. And at the time it was like 45 a month. And he said, a month? And he laughed at me. Like, and y'all
patented Mark Mead laugh.
Yes. 100% Mark Mead laugh. I was like, oh, so I should stop asking all these crazy questions that mean nothing. And I asked him how many appointments he ran. And when he told me, all it was double. And I'm like, what? Like that's the magic. And now it's been, if you don't know that now, you ain't paying attention to nothing. Right. This was like, there was 12 people here at the time. You know what I mean? So when he said that, and then again, I looked at my schedule, I owned it. Again, you can run an appointment every 2 hours, 4 days a week and get in 30 appointments. It's easy. It's 7 or 8 a day, 4 days a week. It's not that deep. It's not that complicated to get. And we got to understand, I don't know, 25% anyway are going to be there at least. So the time I was home a lot. I was sitting in parking lots a lot in the field. I was doing dilly-dallying. You know what I mean? Like I had downtime. So I had to own that I was the problem. I just had to. Otherwise, I'd stay in the same spot forever. So I chose to own it. I chose to start working on me. And when I saw that schedule, I just literally went to my account. I went to Steph, and he was a baby at the time. But I went to the family and the other kids, and I was like, here's the schedule I have to work. And that's the schedule that everyone dial Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, full days, dial Thursday, Friday, Saturday, full days. And it was 30 a week, 120 a month, 1,500 a year. And I changed overnight.
Right. 1
week I wasn't doing it. The next week I did it for the next 30 months. And I did a lot of production on my own pen the next 30 months. Yeah. And recruiting started to follow. And I mean that, and then I got really good after.
Well, you brought up a really interesting point outside. You talked about, because you're an accountant, you're obviously a very detail-oriented person. Yeah. So I think a lot of people get into this. I know I personally have gotten into this myself, where you're trying to adjust certain processes within your business and trying to perfect it, or trying to get the most out of it. And just think like, somehow if I perfect this part, I don't have to worry about putting in so much work. I can kind of get around it. I can do less of it. I can be more efficient, all this other stuff where you still got to put in the time, right? You still got to put in the work.
You do. For me, it's weird. I am analytical, but I'm like this weird kind of analytical. That's like, I don't have that like paralysis by analysis thing. My analyzing things is, am I doing something like, I don't know, really stupid or inefficient to where I can change something easy to be able to do more?
Yep.
For instance, like, I don't know, a lot of people at the time when I was dialing, a lot of people would talk about starting at like 8 or 8:30. And I looked at it and I'm looking at how many appointments I make, like per dial, per hour. I'm kind of paying attention to things like that. And I'm like, if I start at 7, that's another 3 appointments per hour. I can do 2 or 3 appointments an hour and not be amazing.
Yep.
Right. I'm like, twice a week. That's 6 a week. 50 weeks. That's 300 people. If I close 40% of them, that's 6 figures extra. I'm that kind of analytical.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now I can do whatever. I don't remember the 400, 300, whatever the number is, appointments more in the same amount of days. Does that make sense? And for me, I'm always looking, can I make it easy to do more? Like that's all it ever is.
Yeah.
I'm never trying to figure out a way to be more efficient to do less. That's not me. I'm not wired that way. I get bored anyway. And I'm like, what else are we doing?
People are always looking for the silver bullet, I guess.
Yeah. And again, I think you should work on process and stuff if you're doing something, you know what I mean? But I think here's the thing that baffled me is like 24/7, right? Throughout the week. I think it's 168 hours. If I'm not mistaken. I've done this like a million times. I think I have the number right. But again, if you're working 40, which we agree, most insurance agents aren't. Fight me if you want, but most aren't.
It's true.
And then you're sleeping 8 hours a night. That's 56. 56 and 40 is 96. But there's still 72 hours left. After working 40 and sleeping 8 hours a night, like a baby, there's 72 of them suckers left.
Right.
I'm like, I have all the opportunity in the world to be successful if I just pay attention to what I'm doing with my time. And I just started analyzing my time to figure out how it's so easy to do more. You just got to give up dumb stuff. That's what I learned. It was a lot of TV time, a lot of that. And I know we all got stuff. And you have to drive. I get it all. But there's 72 of them. There's more free time than there is work time or sleep time. There's only 40 work, 56 sleep. There's 72 free. When I understood that, I just started looking at the world differently. And then I just audited my time, dude. I went 15-minute blocks. One guy, I had this coach once. I know you had the person here. I had this coach once, and he had me do it every 15 minutes for a week. Just document what you do. And I did it for a week. And I was disgusted at how much empty space there was.
Feeling.
Yeah. So I was like, so again, yes, analytical. I do think you should pay attention to your business. You definitely shouldn't be driving blind. But if you're trying to have a real business and do what we do and have the kind of income that can be had here, if your expectation is you work in 40 hours, I think it's kind of weird one,
right? Especially
in the first 10 years. I always say like Shark Tank. I watch that.
Yep.
And usually one of the first questions there is like, are you making money yet?
Right.
Like they're on Shark Tank and they're not expected to be massively profitable yet. But here you can be, especially on your own pen.
Right.
Holy smokes. And in 10 years, what we've done is mind blowing. And again, all I did was I was just really consistent, dude.
Yeah.
I just didn't miss. Again, this is minus the first 2 years when I changed.
Yeah.
I just became the most consistent. And if I had to miss because I was doing something or something going on, I just adjusted because I wasn't going to miss. I held myself accountable to 30 a week, but things happen. And if I ran 25, that meant next week I had to run 35 to keep my 120 for the month. Does that make sense? So I held myself accountable with that 120 a month. So if anything had to shift, I knew I had 72 more hours to find the extra appointments. I would figure it out somehow, some way.
Yep.
And yeah, we work a lot, dude. I still work a lot, but the burden isn't what it was that now. I love what we do. And I get to bring Maddox with me and you know what I mean? Like we can accomplish a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so
it was all that time that you put in. So Brittany, you actually kind of have a little bit of a different experience. John took a little time before he figured out the sales part of it. You came in, we started around the same time and you started killing with sales from day one. And you've kind of hit different challenges as your business started to develop. Like what's been like the the progression for you? Because not everyone's path is going to be the same.
For me, it was being a better. Well, I've been learning how to be a better leader, hopefully.
We all are.
And
Sure.
a huge area of focus this year and an area of opportunity for me has always been recruiting. So I was actually going to ask John to share some, because you're a really good personal recruiter, right? You're good at warm market and things like that. I've seen some of the people you hired, but pick his brain a little bit and ask him about that. But I think those have been like my biggest challenges, Al. Is probably, selfishly, I guess it's probably me being selfish, not sharing enough of the opportunity with people, because I mean, FFL it's been life-changing for me. And if I had not, and I have you to thank for that, because you brought me here, from a prior experience. And I think I was going to go back into banking. I actually had an offer. And, I could sit at home, go to the gym whenever I want, work from home, check in like little 6-figure income, be comfortable. That was the path that would have been easier for me. Right. But instead I decided to come here with you because I trusted you. I knew you had done, a bunch of research, even though you probably had no idea what was going to happen.
I had no idea what this was going to turn out to be. Yeah.
Me either, bro.
He faked it very well. But it's been a journey. Yeah. And, so I'm here now.
Good. Well, I mean, I definitely see you starting to change gears a little bit and starting to move something. Yeah. When we have an opportunity to learn from guys like John, it's very believable. It's very, that you can do it because you see people like John do it. And then he's coming and sharing the exact things that he's did.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's no different on that recruiting side. It was just doing it more often than everyone else. I've just talked to way more people than she has. She's probably better at every aspect of this individually, but I have a lot of reps, for me, that's where it became talk to 30 people a week. And it now looks like I definitely have warm market today, but I didn't build it that way. I had to build it cold market because that wasn't my thing. I wasn't connected. 10 years in, like it's kind of worked differently today, but for me, I got really good at working the warm market of my cold market. I got really good at getting other people to bring and present the opportunity to others by making it really simple for people to do. And most agents, Brittany, what's the number one reason that most new agents don't start recruiting right away? What do they typically always say is their excuse?
They need to learn everything else first.
They want to wait till they're good, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all like across the board. And I always made it really and that's because they feel like they have to recruit and train as one thing. That's why they don't do it. Right. But heck, you don't have to train at all here if you just point in the right direction, right, or connect them with the right people. And I understood that early because Killamette was a bomb at that. And Sean obviously promotes that. Yep. So for me, I made it really simple by one, I would ask people early on, as soon as maybe even the interview in some cases, if you wanted to sell life insurance for the rest of your life, or if you had any interest in building an agency one day. Really simple question, worded very specifically. Yep. Does that make sense? Yep. It at least generate a conversation for the most part. And if they wanted to build, I always got that answer of, well, I do, but let me figure it out first. Let me navigate, And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I understand. I used to think that way. Hey, can I ask you a question? And I'll say yes. And I like, y'all have Waffle House here?
No.
Okay. So that's my favorite one. So I'm going to change it because in the South we have Waffle House. Yeah. It's really easy analogy to use. You like Waffle House now, don't you?
It's good. Pancakes. I wish we had some.
Yeah. So say this equipment all here, right? And I'm like, if I'm talking to you and you want to build and you give me that excuse, I go, let me ask you a question, dude. If I offered you as a job, a couple $100,000 to learn how to put all this equipment together, it'd be a pretty cool job, right? Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. If I also told you as many friends as you know, I'll also, while I'm training you how to put all this stuff together, because if y'all can't see, there's 1,200 wires right in front of us. I wouldn't even begin. I don't know how he knows how this blows my mind that this all works with all those wires. But if I offered to pay you that, but also as many people as you know, I'll train at the same time. I'll pay them $250,000 and I'll teach them how to put all these wires together. Also, how many people would you go tell today?
Everyone I knew.
So why are you waiting here? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to train them to do the wire. Dude, I'll train them to sell life insurance too. Does that make sense? I don't I don't need you, in fact, even I just need you to give people the same opportunity you have. And they're your friend. Can you not just tell them about this opportunity and I'll take it from there? And if you want to build an agency, great. I'll help you build along the way. Right now, we're just going to get you making money selling, and I'm going to help all your buddies do it too. And if they're in the business already, like you must know other people that are unhappy where they're at. Fair? Well, this works. Says our volume. Does it make sense? So if you can just connect me with people, I'll take care of the rest. You'll get credit for it. And cool thing is you'll make a few bucks every time they sell a policy too. And I didn't even get into the in-depth structure and over. I didn't really get into it. I just made it so easy for them to give me names. And then when they connected me with names, same conversation with that person. Hey man, do you want to sell life insurance forever? Do you have any interest in building one day? And I'd give an analogy. I always did Waffle House, but you can do anything. Best Buy, cashier, anything, sweeping floor. It's just the removing the concept of the recruiting and training. They're not the same. You know what I mean? And we don't need nobody needs me. This whole company would run without me too. You know what I'm saying? But I can point people in the direction, and certainly because of me having gone out in that, and that's all I did. So I'd get that, and then I'd get all their warm market. And I just carry that tree has never ended. Sometimes it's been endless to some people, how many they've just continued to bring on. And that allowed me to thousands of people bring in onesie twosies. You know what I'm saying? And then I just treat them like they're direct to me. Now I was busy. It was a lot of time on the phone, bro. But it got me a lot of people to talk to, you know, and that's how it appeared. The warm market is just, I had a lot of recruiters, and they weren't actual paid recruiters. They were agents that let their friends and family know, you know.
Well, I definitely realized that about myself too. You know, a lot of times we overcomplicate things in our own heads, so that we project that onto other people. So we're just thinking, oh, well, how am I going to explain this to people? Where in reality, most of the stuff that we know, people don't need to know it up front.
Correct.
Yeah, they just need to have activity.
Yeah. I don't need them to give what's that thing when you get that degree, that
a dissertation?
Yeah. I don't need them to do that on insurance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you knew that one. I barely got a sentence out and you knew what I was going with it, but I don't need that. Just an opportunity. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we have so many walks of life that have done this and had success from different backgrounds. And again, I know my story. I was a disaster and figured this out. So I truly do have belief that if people put in the work I put in, the amount of time, energy, and effort to learn this business and this career as I did, I know you can have a pretty good level of success, you know?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have a methodology as far as what information you disclose at what period of time for particular agents, like to not overwhelm them, but still give them enough to kind of,
I mean, it's a feel. Again, at the beginning, dude, I used to throw up on everybody about everything. You know what I mean? How great it was and everything about leads and no contract and all the blah and how well you can do. And I'm doing commissions and splits and overrides and math. And I just did too much. And I think it's okay to do that at the beginning, because you just don't know. That's how you learn. You know what I mean? And all those messy conversations I had at the beginning taught me how to have really clean conversations today, because I saw the follow through of people that didn't make it. And I was always looking at how I messed it up. You know, so it becomes a feel thing. And for me, I give people very short-term goals and structure. So if there's 25 steps to get started, dude, I only give them one. Does that make sense? Like if we were going to do all this together, I'd be like, can you just go grab all the wires and bring them in the room and let me know when you have all the wires in the room? And then I wait for them to call me and say, I got all the wires in the room. And they'll be like, cool. Can you sort them by size? And then let me know when you got them sorted by size and call me back. Does that make sense? And I would literally and you can do that with any point of this. You know what I mean? When you, I don't know, send a voucher. Hey, dude, can you just let me know when you're enrolled? Shoot me a text so I can mark it off that you're in. Let me know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Hey, when you next you schedule your exam, when you schedule your exam, just shoot me a text so I can write down the date. Just let me know. You know, hey, I need to learn this product. Hey, there's this training, there's this video. Go watch that. Call me back when you're done. Let me know if you have more questions. And I just kind of like playing fetch with them in a sense. Right. You mean, give them one thing to do versus throwing 42 balls and go, bring me all the balls. That's overwhelming. But the only way I learned that was by messing it up a lot, you know. And if you've been through the process, or if you're recruiting and you're paying attention to the process, you'll learn how many people do and don't do the things they say they're going to do. And I've learned that most don't. So I don't bother giving them too many to do. I just give them one at a time, and I let people know I'm watching their actions. You know what I mean? You know how many people I talk to that tell me they're going to take over the world and change and do things different, yada, yada. It is what it is. I was that guy one day too, but one day I did change, you know? So I give everybody the opportunity to change, but I'm like, dude, if I gave you 42 steps today, like if I put everything I know as far as in-home, phone script, recruiting in a bottle and you could drink it and know it all, dude, I'd be a billionaire. That'd be dope. But even if I said everything I know and you go on the phones tomorrow, I'm 100% sure you're not going to say most of it tomorrow. Right? Most of what I say is through experience and getting beaten up and messing things up and making the mistakes and learning from it and adjusting, you know? So it's in moderation. It does well. So there is, but I don't have like a written, like, here's the exact way, because it depends person to person. If I give them the same thing and she takes 42 minutes to do it and he takes 6 weeks, step 2 is different for each of them. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to handle each situation very differently. So it's super case by case, but it's like literally one thing. The biggest tip I can give you is one thing at a time and put the burden of communication on them. So I always, hey, let me know when you're done, get back to me, text me, message, whatever it is. I always put the burden of communication back on them. And I tell everyone I can go way faster than you can. So I'm going to leave the pace up to you. Is that fair? As fast as you want to go, I promise you can't outpace me. So if you want to do this in fast way, I'm in. If you want to do it slow, whatever, just understand I'm talking to a lot of people, you know, and I'm paying attention to who does the things they say they're going to do. And if you can't do the things you say you're going to do, can you communicate with me? If you do that and you're coachable, me and you are going to be good no matter what pace you're at, you know, and it's setting the expectations. And then again, small chunks, here it is, get back to me, you know?
Yeah, that's tremendously helpful because I mean, a lot of these things I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
But to be able to articulate it just by hearing, because you've been through that experience and you've made the mistakes, you've learned from them. You're able to discern quicker now.
It's even to a point like where I had a girl in my office the other day and she was wanting to make some changes and we were talking about some things. So I gave her 2 things to do. And she's like, but what about? And I was like, listen, that's step like 6, 7, and 8. Can you just do step 1 and 2 first? And I will literally say that, like, slow down. I still have the same phone number. You know what I mean? Like, do those and then call me back. And it's, again, if you have to tell, I will literally, same with like new agents who want to know in-home before they get on the phones. I'm like, dude, I'll help you with in-home. But right now you don't have any clients to do in-home with. So can you do step 1 first? And then I'm 100% sure when you book appointments, I will take care of in-home. I know exactly what you need to know when you need to know it. Remember, we talked about being coachable. This is one of those moments where I don't need you to know step 4 until you've done step 1. I understand the fears and I get it because I was there. But remember, I'm going to guide you through this the right way. So can you book the appointments? And then when you're done with the appointments, call me back and then we'll go through some in-home stuff. You know what I mean? It's always just minimizing it. No big deal. Taking the stress off of people and just giving them really simple bite-sized things to consume. You know?
How do you deal with agents that jump the gun? They kind of just, they have an idea. They're certain of what they want to do. They go about their own method. They create a mess, and then you got to clean it up after. And they come to you now at this point. They're like, okay, now it didn't work. So
Killamet's always taught me like, and this is, I don't know what y'all call it here, but you know, on the stove, where it gets red, he calls it the eye. People call it like, whatever it's called, you know, the freaking hot part, the eye of the stove, I guess, whatever. He's always like with kids, you can tell them not to put their hand on it. How are they going to really find out not to put their hand on it? Right. When they put their hand on it, it hurts. You know what I'm saying? So there is a lot of method to just sometimes. Now, I'm not going to let anybody do anything like crazy, you know what I mean? Like unethical and stuff.
Right.
But dude, I'm willing to let people mess up, especially if they're not, again, for me, you got to be coachable. Do the things you say you're going to do and communicate if you can't. If you're not coachable, I'm not trying to force you to be coachable. And I also, like, I'm as 1099 as they are. They ain't got to work with me. I ain't got to work with them. Right. Does it make sense? We're equally 1099 in this business. So if they're making mistakes and they're not coachable, like, can we just leave me out of it? What do you need me for? Right. And I'm talking to enough people where I'm willing to do that. And again, if they're coming back and now they come back and they're like, this mess. Now I slow down and I start asking a lot of questions to get them to understand where they messed up versus beating them over the head with, I told you so. Right. You know what I mean? I'm that like, never helps. No, it doesn't. And there's frustration typically there. And I've learned like a lot of the frustration comes from like a lack of clarity. lack of expectations between either side. Right or wrong, it don't matter. It's just the lack of clarity that causes the problem. And the lack of clarity comes from me not asking the right questions early on. It's like in-home for me. If I ask a bunch of questions, I'm really clear on their situation. If I'm not and I just offer something, maybe I get lucky, maybe I don't, right? Those who ask the most questions in the house tend to sell the most. So I just ask a lot of really, what I've learned now to be really good questions. I've also learned I pay attention to like what people hear versus what I say. Because I might say something, but they hear it totally different. You know what I'm saying? And I've done it enough times now where I've learned how to make that light bulb moment go off. Right. I'm paying it just like in home. I'm watching body language and watching people's reactions. And I'm paying attention when I'm guiding people, how they respond. Maybe not even immediately. That is a piece of it, but how they respond over the course of a week or a month or a quarter. You know what I mean? Like how they're handling it. And I've just learned to deliver things in a way that has less frustration and friction as possible. I'm not perfect at it, but I do my best. And I've learned questions and analogies have helped me have people hear me the way I want them to hear me. Whereas when I just say it, now their ear may be different than mine. Right. But if I can, that's why I make a lot of analogies and give a lot of stories, because it's relatable to the average person. If I can make a story or an analogy specific, it's like him with wire, like that hits different. Right. You know what I'm saying? If I made an analogy specific to your previous company, that would hit different. If I can do that, I do. If not, I use something generic like Waffle House or stoves. And, so again, it's slowing down, asking questions. And if that guy does come back to me, I'm probably going to ask him a bunch of questions. And if I'm close with him, I build a good relationship. I can definitely be a sarcastic, like, dude, what did you expect, bro? You know what I mean? If I have a good relationship, it's different than if I don't know the guy. Right. So it's usually just, again, to some level, let people make mistakes. I mean, that's how I learned. If Sean and Killamet didn't let me mess up, I wouldn't be here, because I didn't want someone micromanaging me either. And I had to learn some things. They were never going to let me fall off the rails, but they did let me make a lot of mistakes, which taught me a lot. So there's this weird balance between it. Right.
Because everyone wants to be the boss until there's a mess. And then it's kind of different and unique in this industry, because you come in and you're like you mentioned, we're all 1099 the same, right? Yeah. But then, everyone wants that responsibility to be the boss. But then when the responsibilities actually come, then it's like, well, who's going to clean this up?
And I don't love the boss responsibility. I love the responsibility of helping someone get further in their situation. Right. I like that burden. And that requires them being coachable, doing the things you say you're going to do, and communicating if you can. That, for me, you give me those, and that's where I've learned it's really easy to work with someone in that case. You know what I mean? Because again, all I'm trying to do is help you avoid some of the mistakes I made. If you're not listening, or you're going at it at a slower bit, like, again, what do you need me for? If we're not going to, so I don't want to be their boss, but I want to be a piece of their story and hopefully make it quicker than mine was. I like that piece. And I also had to have this thing, dude. If every agent were perfect, what would they need me for? Right. So I like that. Like, I'm in a situation where people are looking at me for like some guidance. Absolutely. In a sense. I take that part seriously, but I also have to have some level of boundaries, because I don't want them to take advantage either. Right. So it's always that balance. And if I put too much time into someone that's not doing the things that they say they're going to do, or that's required to have success, I might miss someone like Brittany, because I'm so focused over here and stressed out and frustrated and annoyed. Right. And it's no different than agents running a few appointments a week. They're going to be frustrated all the time. Or if you're recruiting and you're frustrated, I'm pretty close to 100% sure you probably don't talk to enough people. Because if you talk to enough people, there's typically always someone who's willing to do the right things and have excitement. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So speaking of talking to enough people, I mean, this is just kind of a story from when I started. My first year, I went to the Dallas convention. It was the national convention. So at first I was like, is this thing even real? Like, everything sounds kind of fake. It's a little too good to be true. And I remember hearing you speak, and you went up there and you spoke about the number to calculate how much money you want to make, the number of appointments and activity you need to have. And for me, I was like, it's really genius. Yeah. And then like, that was coming from a very, and like, you could tell you put a lot of work into crafting that whole training. Mm-hmm. And then today you come in, obviously this is 4 4.5 years later.
Yeah.
So you're in a much different stage of your career. And then, you come in, I'm like, for the training, do you need this? You're like, this is insurance. We'll just do what we're going to do.
No prep.
But that kind of speaks to like, where we can all become if we put in enough work and we put in the right type of work.
And this is my life.
Yeah.
To not be able to train on it would be weird. It's literally my life. This has been 10 years every day.
Yep.
So it is. I just tell people, again, you want to learn how to train people to get to another, teach them what you do.
Right. And if you don't have anything to train on, go do something, right?
Correct. Again, and if you aren't doing a lot, stop teaching people. You point them to someone else. That's why I told those guys out there. A lot of people are like, I feel like I have to follow this hierarchy and be like, F that. Talk to the people who are killing it. If you're willing to do what it takes to kill it.
Right. Can you talk about that? Because a lot of people say like, hey, I want to be in your position, or they go and talk to a Brittany and say like, I want to be a top producer. Like, what do I need to do? Like, it is frustrating if someone doesn't actually.
You should want to be in that position.
Yeah.
But are you willing to do the things she did to get in that position?
Right.
And that's always the catch for people.
Right.
Most aren't. And again, that's okay. I ain't mad at that. So that's why for me, it's a lot of questions and asking people, are they like, again, everybody who's watching is where they are.
Right.
If you expect to be any different doing exactly what you're doing today in a few months, if you're unset now, if you're on a trajectory where your growth, you'll probably keep growing. But if you've been flat, mediocre, stuck, and you think you're going to get out of it with a new lead vendor, a new contract, a new product, you're lost your mind. So you literally will have to do more. And again, we've already discussed, they got the time. So it's really looking at it and just owning that you have to make a change to improve, and there were a lot of sacrifices. I saw nothing of his for
Do you even know who this
7
kid
years.
is next to you?
7 years. I wasn't at any game. Every once in a while I'd be at something, but even if I was I remember I used to go to his basketball. How old were you when you played basketball? I would go to his games, and every game I'd be on the phone outside. You know what I mean? So I was kind of there, but not really, because we were building at the stage. So I sacrificed a lot. But I bet I don't know if you remember. Do you remember me being outside on the phone, or do you have any idea? You know what I'm saying? Like, he had no clue.
Yep.
But now we're sitting in a podcast room in LA together. You have to go to a Dodgers game and hanging out. You know what I mean? Like, I get the luxury today because of what I was willing to sacrifice before.
Right.
And the family was willing to sacrifice. My wife was willing to sacrifice. Like, we all had to have our own sacrifices. I couldn't play with him as much as I wanted to when he was younger. But again, I don't even remember. But he ain't going to forget this stuff.
Yep.
Ever. He's not going to forget that game last night and the things we were able to do. So for me, it always comes back to, you want it, but do you want what it takes to get it?
Right.
And not everybody's willing to do that. Again, I ain't mad at that. I used to get mad at that.
Me too.
But I've read something the other day that said, I might not word it right, but it was like, if you're not willing to sacrifice to get what you want is what you're sacrificing.
Yeah.
I was like, but that's pretty damn deep.
It is.
It's like, so I'd rather sacrifice the lifestyle I had, the mediocrity and all the stuff we use as like not being home and being busy and being on the phone. Like that gets significantly different with time.
Well, I think you're a perfect example. If we're looking at, if you're stuck at where you're at, you want more, you got to do more. Yeah. But then and if you tell people, hey, you got to do more, it's very unappealing for a lot of people because they're like, I don't want to put in that much time. And
that seems easy.
But for most people, they haven't built up that muscle yet.
Yeah.
They haven't built up that work ethic. They haven't built up that mindset to believe that they can do it. So it's very unappealing. But the thing is, if you look at John, the thing is, you're going to do more. But then even after you start doing more for a little bit, you get used to it and it doesn't feel like that much anymore.
Yeah.
And then even on top of that, John, I was asking John earlier, how's your role changed since you've become an integrity partner? Obviously, he still puts in work. He still has all the same responsibilities, but I'm sure it feels a heck of a lot different, right?
It's way different of a burden and everyday stressors.
Right.
I do work a lot, but I get to work like in a niche now.
Yep.
I don't have to be everything to everybody anymore.
Right.
I get to really focus on the pieces I'm really good at. Thankfully, I have a team, not only staff, but all the agency, that everybody in the agency that's helped along. Like, I didn't do this alone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe I got the ball rolling and I was part of the initial, guys at FFL, but for sure we've had a lot of help. And you know, and again, now all I get to do is focus on the pieces I'm really good at and the stuff I'm bad at. Now we have other people that take where I used to have to do the things I was bad at too. That was part of building a business, you know, and it does, like anything, it gets easier. And as you said, the speed, like my daughter's 16. We just got her car. She just got her license in April. And we live really close to this like 4-lane. It's like this, except there's a median in the middle. Right. And at 16, like I know the speed limit's probably 40 out there and they're all going 80.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to a 16-year-old, that's overwhelming. Yeah. You and I can do it like with our knee texting, not that we should, but how slow it goes, that you're going down the interstate 80, 90 plus, and you can maneuver between people and everything feels like it's slow motion because you've been driving so long.
Right.
But to my daughter won't get on the interstate yet. And when we drive on the road like this, she's literally like white knuckle on the thing because it's all going so fast. She doesn't know how to check this mirror, that little peek in the mirror, look over here. You don't know what to expect. Look at the intersection coming up, paying attention to light, the little stop thing to see if it's counting down and about to turn. Like she doesn't understand the little details yet. And it's all going so fast. And that's how a lot of people feel coming into this, especially when you start out in the building side. It's like, but it's like, I don't know. Remember when you were 16, how crazy it felt driving?
Yep.
And now it's like, it's just no big deal.
Driving.
Yeah. You know, and this is the most similar that it relates to. Like we go really fast still, but it feels like when we even have new staff come in, they're like, yo, speed is nuts. To me, it feels pretty slow. You know, and I'm unsatisfied. I have a big dream. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm going to, I can't go any slower, right. But I can understand now that people's lens is different. Absolutely. So y'all that feel overwhelmed, that means you're probably on the right path. If you don't feel overwhelmed, you're definitely not on the right path. Right. You know, and it was overwhelming for several years. It wasn't like weeks or months. Yep. I mean, it was like a solid 4 years of like, till it really started to like slow down. And I felt I was in control and knew how to build it and coach agents the right way. You know what I mean? Like that didn't come quick for me. I mean, it was, but I was still doing it. I was okay with I kind of like the chaos, to be honest. You know? Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, if you don't feel overwhelmed, you're too comfortable, which is okay. It's your choice, but you're not getting an opportunity to grow from that. It won't push you. 100%. But so speaking of looking at things from a different lens, I mean, Brittany and I, we're looking to build our teams. We have plenty of people that see the opportunity here at FFL. They're looking to grow their agency, grow their business. So how has integrity changed your life? Or I guess to take it a step back, what is integrity and why should people go after it?
Dude, it's an opportunity that I could have never seen. It's a partnership with, at this point, 200 plus other higher level thinking, high achieving partners that just want to help a ton of people win, which when you pull together everybody partner in one spot, dude, none of us individually could accomplish anything remotely near what the entirety of it can together, you know? And everybody being on the same page with all the different companies and IMOs and things that are becoming part of integrity, it makes it really easy to focus on the pieces that we're really good at and let integrity do the pieces they're really good at, which is infrastructure and the HR and the IT and the legal side. You know what I mean? Like all the pieces they're good at, connecting all those dots, creating products, opportunities, new carrier thing. Like they're really good at that. Imagine if I had to do all that crap, or Sean, they're like it's hard to scale to like the umpteenth degree without a lot of pieces in place. And integrity is a machine with like insanely smart people as part of it. Yep. I just love being part of the overall ship and like being in a new realm. One of the guys was asking me out there, like, there's other IMOs. I'm like, I mean, we all use the same carriers, the same product, the same leads, the same clients. Everything's the same. Why are we the size we are? It's the internal guts. It's the process, the product. It's different internally in the way it operates that allows us. I mean, they're like at $15 billion company or whatever their number is today. Look it up. It's not, they put it out on every announcement. Twice a week, they put, you know what I mean? They're announcing some acquisition. And I just want to be part of the journey with all these other people that are seeing things at a different level than I could ever think. There's levels to this thing. We're talking about recruiting and teaching someone about wires to get them to bring their buddy. And Brian Adams is just like gobbling up companies. Like he's different level. You know what I mean? But he's still recruiting. He's doing the same thing. It's just a little further up. And now you're saying you see people I recruit, I'm a little further ahead than talking about wires today, but I'm nowhere near that, and in the overall industry, like we're just a small fraction of what the potential is. And the direction that thing's going, man, I want to be a part of. And if I just look at straight financial, because that's a lot of people ask for that reason, I can't grow an agency at the pace that FFL, much less integrity, can grow at. I just can't do it. I can't build something that fast, that powerful at that scale by myself, or some guy at ABC IMO that we don't know because he's got the magic lead or 5 points comp on this product. You know what I mean? The system that they put together is so duplicatable. And that's why we have such a large majority of partners, especially. So you take what we have at FFL and combine it with what Integrity has. I mean, that's why we're seeing the clip at, I think we got like 30 partners at whatever the number is today. There's a lot of FFL, they're Integrity partners today. And I think it's just the inner workings of the two companies being a really good match made in heaven in thought process. And
I have a question for you. Andrew kind of touched on it a little bit during the conference, but there's another acquisition or partnership with another company. I think they're more involved in the data aspect of businesses. What can you speak on as far as that new, news, I guess?
I'm not in those meetings, dude. So honestly, I can't speak of any detail, to be honest.
Me neither. That's why I'm asking.
But I do know that our world revolves around data today. You know what I mean? And more data means more information, and more information means more opportunity. Right. And if we now own a data company, would it be unreasonable to assume we now have access to more information, which leads to more opportunity? You know what I'm saying? And that's just Integrity seeing things that we as individuals, even if we saw them, I couldn't acquire a data company. Imagine how powerful it is to have the data behind stuff at this stage, how much they'll know and how much they can do. So I have no idea on the details of the deal itself, but access to that, again, marketing companies they're acquiring now, wealth like all the pieces they're acquiring, they're now bringing in revenue from all angles of our business. Imagine you try to bring in revenue from 17 different angles of your business by yourself. You'd never be able to focus on any one thing.
Right.
So it allows us to focus on our niche really well, and let the other partners focus on their niche really well, and we all grow at a faster pace together. And to answer your question, dude, I think having access to more data just makes it happen even faster.
I agree.
Yeah, it's just really exciting prospect to think. I mean, obviously we still got some work to do. We still got to continue to push because, the job's not done until we get there. And then even when we get there, the thing is that means your job's kind of starting to, if you're trying to help other people get to that point. But, every time we have an opportunity to speak to someone like John and talk to other Integrity partners, and even talking to people at different levels, it does lend us a different perspective that allows us to refocus and look at our business a different way. So I'm just really excited. I'm like, you've, and plus, I mean, we've had the pleasure of just hearing from you, because we're here on the West Coast. We have great leadership with Andrew, and Sean's very involved, and we have guys like Jack and all these other people. But to have an opportunity like you, it's really invaluable. So I appreciate you coming by and sharing.
You're gonna see us keep working because we got back-to-back meetings. We're about to jump on another one right now. You didn't know it. I am.
Yeah, no, I'm about. I know you got to get going. So really appreciate you coming in and sharing with us today.
Appreciate it, John.
Looking forward to having you back.
Always.
Maddox, thank you for coming in and sharing with us.
Say bye.
Bye.
All right. So appreciate John Wetmore getting on. Appreciate Brittany Smart coming on. Appreciate all of you guys getting on. Yeah, let's go out there and be lead, guys.